We're going to explore why so many people who've done everything right still feel empty inside. Why is it that so many of us follow all the right steps, tick all the right boxes, yet end up feeling hollow and unfulfilled? You did what everyone told you to do. You got the degree, landed the job, found the partner, bought the home. You built the life that was supposed to bring happiness and meaning. And yet somewhere along the way, that promise turned into pressure, that achievement became a prison, and now you're left wondering, is this really all there is? On paper, your life looks perfect. Friends and family marvel at how well you're doing. You've accomplished what society defined as success. But inside there's this persistent void, a gnawing emptiness that doesn't make sense given your external circumstances. And worst of all, you feel guilty for feeling this way, because what right do you have to be dissatisfied when you have so much? It turns out there's a reason for this disconnect. Many of us build our entire lives around external markers of success, and when we achieve them, we discover they were never meant to fulfill our deepest human needs. So let's talk about why this happens and, more importantly, how to find your way out. Because this isn't about failure. It's about a success strategy that stopped working once you outgrew it. When we're young, our vision of success tends to be simple and externally defined. We absorb messages from parents, teachers, media about what a good life looks like. Get good grades. Go to college. Find a stable career. Buy a house. Start a family. It's all very sequential and achievement-oriented. And why wouldn't we follow this path? It's clear, structured, and promises security and happiness at the end. And one of the most powerful messages we internalize is, if you work hard and do everything right, you'll be happy. That phrase sticks. It gets reinforced by everyone around us. It becomes a core part of how we approach life. And for a while, it works beautifully. Each achievement brings a rush of satisfaction. Each milestone reached delivers temporary joy and external validation. You're doing great. You're on track. Keep going. But here's the hidden cost. When you organize your life around checking boxes, what you're usually pursuing is not authentic fulfillment. It's the temporary high of achievement and external validation. You were conditioned to value the outcome, not the process. The destination, not the journey. The external validation, not the internal experience. And over time, you start to internalize a very dangerous idea. My worth comes from what I accomplish and how others perceive me. And that belief will quietly sabotage everything once you reach the goals you've been pursuing, because the moment you achieve them, when the excitement fades, when the validation stops coming, you're left with yourself and the realization that no external achievement can fill an internal void. This is when the emptiness sets in. Because while you were busy building the perfect life on paper, you may have neglected to develop the things that actually create lasting fulfillment. Authentic connection, personal meaning, self-awareness, and the ability to be present in your own life. You were so focused on becoming successful that you never asked yourself what success actually means to you. Not to your parents, not to society, but to you. Instead of discovering your own values, you inherited them. Instead of finding your own purpose, you accepted someone else's definition. And slowly, your life starts to feel like it belongs to someone else. You wake up in the beautiful house, next to the perfect partner, before heading to the prestigious job, and wonder why none of it feels like enough. You wonder why you can't just be grateful. You wonder what's wrong with you. And that's the trap, because while everyone sees your picture-perfect life, while they envy what you've built, you're stuck in a gilded cage of your own making. You can't express your dissatisfaction because it sounds ungrateful. You can't admit your emptiness because it seems weak. You can't change course because you've invested too much in this version of success. So you stall. And that's when the disconnection deepens. Not just from others, but from yourself. Think about it. Authentic connection requires knowing who you are beyond your achievements. It requires vulnerability, showing up imperfectly, being seen for who you really are rather than what you've accomplished. But if your entire self-concept is built around achievement and external validation, how can you be vulnerable? How can you let people see the real you when you're not even sure who that is anymore? So instead of connecting deeply, you network. Instead of sharing yourself, you share your resume. Instead of being known, you become recognized. And it works up to a point. You have people around you. You maintain relationships. You might even seem fulfilled on the surface. But underneath, you're exhausted because instead of just being, you're performing. You're constantly thinking about how you're perceived, how to maintain the image, how to keep the validation coming. So now relationships also become something you have to excel at, and to avoid failing at them, you start making them transactional or superficial. This is where the emptiness deepens. But you did everything right, didn't you? You should be able to figure this out. So you try to fix your emptiness with the same strategy that created it. Achievement. You sign up for more courses. You chase a promotion. You renovate the house. You optimize your fitness routine. You try to perfect your way out of the void. None of it helps because external achievement wasn't designed to create internal fulfillment. It's not a tool for meaning. It's a temporary bandage on a deeper wound. And when you try to use it to feel whole inside, it just keeps failing because there's no achievement answer to the question, is my life meaningful? That question can only be answered by turning inward, by discovering what genuinely matters to you. And for those who've built their lives around external metrics, that inner landscape is often the one thing that got left unexplored. When the emptiness becomes too sharp, when the void starts to feel unbearable, that's when the ego steps in with one final defense. You tell yourself that wanting more is selfish, that you should just be grateful, that millions would kill for your life. And now instead of addressing the emptiness, you shame yourself for feeling it at all. Not because you actually believe you should settle, but because admitting you built the wrong life for yourself is too painful to face. This is what we call defensive gratitude, and it's one of the most stagnating patterns you can fall into. It creates a wall between you and your authentic desires, and even when you want to change, the wall doesn't let you reach for it. Because change requires admitting you've been on the wrong path, possibly for years. So how do we fix this? The first step, and this is non-negotiable, is that you have to stop identifying with the successful person you've built yourself to be. You have to be willing to set that identity aside. Not because achievement is bad, but because basing your self-worth on it is unsustainable. When your value is tied to what you accomplish and how others perceive you, you will do everything in your power to maintain that image, even at the cost of your authentic happiness. You'll sacrifice fulfillment to avoid disrupting expectations, and eventually, that sacrifice will hollow you out from the inside. So the fix is to build a new relationship with yourself. Not around what you do, but around who you are. You stop asking, what will make me look successful? And start asking, what actually brings me alive? You stop protecting your image and start exploring your truth, even when it contradicts the life you've built. You let yourself feel the uncomfortable emotions you've been avoiding. You start showing up not to impress, but to express who you really are. And yes, it's terrifying. It's uncomfortable. It feels like stepping off a cliff. But it's not, because it's the first real step toward becoming whole. The old identity told you that your value came from what you achieved. The new one reminds you that your value is inherent. It exists simply because you do. And being human means you're allowed to change course. You're allowed to outgrow the life that once fit. You're allowed to disappoint others to become true to yourself. But the only way forward is to start listening inward instead of outward. Not perfect listening, not constant listening, just honest moments of asking yourself, what do I actually want? What brings me joy? What gives my life meaning? And then having the courage to act on those answers, even in small ways. So if you're someone who feels empty despite having done everything right, if you've spent your whole life building the perfect external existence only to find it hollow inside, this is where you begin. You let go of the need to have it all figured out. You stop trying to be perfect. You start trying to be real. Because you don't need to have an impressive life to have a meaningful one. You just need to have the courage to live in alignment with what genuinely matters to you. Even when it's messy, even when it's uncertain, even when it doesn't photograph well for social media. And if you can do that, if you can stop clinging to the version of yourself that exists for external validation, you'll start to feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Authenticity. Not because you earned it, not because you deserved it, but because you were finally willing to step out of the life you thought you should want and into the life that actually feels like home. And it turns out that life isn't perfect. In fact, it might look quite ordinary from the outside. But it's the only place where you can truly be yourself. And more importantly, it's the only place where you can finally feel alive instead of just accomplished. So if any part of this resonated with you, if you recognized yourself in these patterns or felt something click that you haven't quite been able to put into words before, leave a comment and let me know what stood out. Chances are you're not the only one who feels this way, and sometimes naming the pattern is the first real step to breaking it.